Okay, let's talk about grading and what you need to know about getting a grade for this class. So we're going to start with this little video that I think will probably explain it in a more interesting way than maybe I will. Whoops.
Have you ever really tried to learn something and you just couldn't? It can make you feel like you're not so smart, right? Well, it's not your fault, and it's not your teacher's fault. It's just our traditional approach to learning. We go through school and we accumulate gaps. You're a bit shaky on pre-algebra, but you move on to algebra anyway. By the time you get to calculus, you've got lots of gaps. If enough gaps build up, you eventually hit a wall. Calculus makes no sense, and that can be frustrating. But what if there were a different way to learn? That's mastery learning. Unlike traditional learning, where all students move in lockstep, with mastery learning, you go at your own pace. You progress through questions at just the right level for you. If you get 50% right the first time, it's not a big deal. Try as many times as you need. Get feedback as you learn, and help when you need it. Teachers can track your progress, identify any gaps, and give you one-on-one attention. Decades of research shows mastery learning works. Now you have the tools to make it possible. Are you ready to learn anything?
Okay, so hopefully that video sounded really familiar to what you've been doing so far. So let's talk about how we kind of grade what this looks like. So in the last lesson, we talked about the importance of feedback to help us achieve goals and improve. In a traditional classroom, a lot of time your feedback is given to you in terms of points. You got 76 out of 100 points, or you got 89 out of 100 points. And students then are trying to earn enough points to get a specific grade. And then those grades tend to compare students to each other rather than what they really know. So a certain amount of kids get an A and a certain amount of kids get a B based on how many points they got. There are a lot of problems with that system, and probably one of the reasons you might not like school very much because it just seems meaningless and that it's all like a game. So, in our classroom, we are going to focus on understanding content before moving to the next thing, causing problems later on. Your feedback, which we looked at in the last lesson, is the most important part of our class. So, the written words, the descriptions that you receive on how you did at meeting that goal. We don't have points, things are not worth a certain amount of points. And you are actually going to get to help decide what your grade is. So for each lesson you complete, you will be given a score of 0, 2, 3, 4, or sometimes you might get a plus. This will go on your feedback sheet as well as an Infinite Campus, but it's not going to calculate a grade automatically. This isn't an amount of points. You're not going to see A, B, C, D, or F until you meet with your teachers before interims and report cards to help determine what your grade is. So let's kind of break that down. Why aren't you going to have a grade calculated? So think about someone who scored a 3 out of 4. On our levels, a 3 out of 4 means that you are almost there. You're approaching mastery. But when you put 3 out of 4 points, Infinite Campus is going to say that you've gotten a 75%, which translates to a C, which a lot of people don't attach mastery to. They think a C means you're not doing a very good job. So the two systems don't really match up, and people get fixated on the letter grade instead of the actual learning and progress. So you're not going to see a letter. You are going to focus on the progress that you are making and the feedback that you have been given. So I also have here our scale. So if you see a 0, this 0, it could be a boat. It could be a picture of a monkey. It could be the letter Z. The numeric score is just to put in the system of Infinite Campus to tell you where you're at. So if you see a 0, that means that you currently do not have enough evidence for us to give you feedback. So it's not finished or you haven't done enough for us to really know if you understand the content. A 2 means you're developing. So most likely this means that you're currently working on filling some of those gaps that you might have accumulated in kindergarten through 7th grade. It means that you're still making progress. You're not where we're at for 8th grade yet, but you're getting there by filling in those gaps. A 3 means you're approaching mastery. You're almost there. You have a little bit of work left to do to really understand it, but you've made a lot of good progress. A 4 means you did it. You've mastered it. You understand what you're supposed to understand for this material. Now, sometimes, but not very often, you might see a plus. And this is for those instances where we're doing a topic that you feel super passionate about, or you love poetry and we're in a poetry unit and you've been writing poems since the 2nd grade and you just really knock it out of the park and you go above what is expected of you. And so you're going to get a little plus there to show off that you really, really got that one. But a 4 is mastery, and that's what you're working for. So twice per quarter, when you get your interims and your report cards, you are going to be given what we're going to call portfolio days. So you may remember the word portfolio because you've already set up your portfolio in your Google Drive. And during these days, you're going to be given time to collect evidence and work samples that show off that you understand the material using assignments that you've already completed. So you're going to be going through your past work and pulling out your best examples to show off what you've learned. You're going to reflect on the work so far, and you're going to meet with one of your teachers to go over your portfolio and determine what grade should be reported in the traditional A, B, C, D, F, which you probably won't get an F or a D. So hopefully not, because you'll have chances to redo assignments. And so that might be looking at the scores and how many things you've mastered. It might be looking at how you've grown. So maybe you had a lot of gaps in one lesson, and so you were getting a lot of 2s, but now you're getting mastery. And so you've really grown a lot and you've filled in a lot of those gaps, and we'll come up with a grade that we think reflects that hard work that you have put in. So you'll have plenty of time. We'll go over this when this time comes and really walk you through the process at the beginning. But you are going to be responsible for your work and for your grade by showing off, this is what I can do. I deserve, to show that with the world. And so that's kind of how our grading system is going to work. So just to recap, because that was a lot of information and a lot of important stuff. You don't have any points. You are working to show your mastery of content. You're going to get lots of tries to understand content. We're not going to move on until you really understand it. And once you understand it, you're going to create a portfolio of evidence to show that you understand it. And then you're going to meet with a teacher, and that's how you'll come up with your final grade. So just to go back here to our chart, these are the numbers or symbols that you are going to see in Infinite Campus. It's not going to calculate a grade automatically for you like some of your other classes probably do. These are just to communicate with you and your family at how you're currently doing. And they also might change. So you might get a developing, and then you get some feedback and you go back and now you've mastered it. So hopefully by the time the end of the quarter or the end of a unit, depending on if those things line up, you have lots of 4s and you've mastered all of the material. So if you have any questions, please ask us, and we will keep going over this and talking about this all year, but this is just to introduce it to you.